What do you think is the requirement for meaningful opposition to this attempt at globalist totalitarianism? And at and given your diagnosis that there's a point where violence starts being enacted, where do you think we are on that trajectory currently?
Well, we are definitely not at the end stage yet of the mass formation, and I think so the crucial question will be whether there are people who are very decided just to continue to speak out no matter what happens. And technology can help. Indeed, at this moment, through the social media, alternative opinions, dissonant voices can spread very fast around the world, and that's extremely important. The question, of course, is whether in a certain amount of time, the alternative voices will not be banned from the social media. That's a good question, of course, because as soon as, let's say, a digital ID is introduced, it might become quite easy to ban critical voices from the social media. I hope it will not, and even in that case, we will have to continue to speak out. So, no matter what happens, if we can't speak out on a social media, then we just speak out on the streets and in the shops and in the pubs. That's also a good place to speak out. So, but that's always a decisive question, because mass formation is identical to a kind of group formation, mass hypnosis, and hypnosis is always induced by the voice of a leader. That's exactly why totalitarian leaders use so much indoctrination and propaganda rather than terror, as a classical dictatorship does. The classical dictatorship uses terror in the first place. So, indoctrination and propaganda can only be countered by truth speech. People who speak in a sincere and honest way what they think is true, not because they are convinced that they are the only ones who know everything. No, just because they say, it's my ethical duty as a human being to articulate the words of which I think they are sincere and honest. If we do it in this way, not so much trying to convince other people, but just trying to articulate the words that we think are sincere and honest, then will we have a maximal effect. That's what we have to do. Not so much trying to convince, trying to, in a quiet and peaceful way, articulate what we think is true. And that's where our voice will have a maximum resonating capacity. And it is this resonating capacity that is capable of disturbing the mass formation. The mass formation of which in the end only about 20 to 30% of the people are in the grip of. So usually not much more than 20 to 30% of the people are in the grip of the mass formation, but there is like 60, 65%, maybe even more, it's hard to say exactly, but who always follows the masses because they have the loudest voice in society and because they are never used to go against the loudest voice. So it's just crucial that the people who have the courage to speak out continue to do so, and continue to do so in the right way.
Stay free with Russell Brand. See it first on Rumble.